The rain falls mercilessly on the dark asphalt of the state highway that cuts through the small town of Ribera do Vale. It is almost 11 at night, and Helena Soares accelerates her old car, a Fiat Uno that is almost 2 decades old, with the windshield wipers squeaking with each movement. She sighs, tired, quickly glancing at the clock on the dashboard. She is late. Her daughter, Julia, only 8 years old, is with her neighbor Dona Clotilde, who always complains when Helena arrives after 10, working double shifts at the diner, and then the gas station takes its toll. Helena can barely keep her eyes open. Her fingers are dry from the cheap detergent she uses at the diner, and her back hurts from hunching over behind the gas station cashier. But she has no choice. Since Ricardo, her ex-husband, disappeared 3 years ago without leaving a pension or any support, the responsibility of raising Julia has fallen entirely on her shoulders. Helena slows down when she notices something unusual on the shoulder of the road. A black car, which appears to be a luxury model, is parked with its hood up in the heavy rain. She can make out the silhouette of a man trying to protect himself while working on the engine. For a moment, she considers driving on. After all, she doesn't know anything about mechanics. She's late, and the road at night isn't the safest place for a woman to stop. But something makes her hit the brakes. If it were me there, with Julia in the back seat, she thinks, remembering the countless times her car has let her down. Carefully, Helena parks a few meters ahead and turns on her hazard lights. She takes the battered umbrella from the back seat and gets out, walking towards a stranger. "Need help?" she shouts to make herself heard over the sound of rain. The man turns around, surprised. He must be around 45, with gray hair at the temples, and he wears a suit that, even in the darkness, Helena can tell is expensive. He looks out of place, his greasy hands contrasting with his polished appearance. "Thank God!" he exclaims. "My car just stopped. I've been trying to figure out what happened for almost an hour, but I have to admit that engines are not my specialty." Helena approaches, trying to protect the man with her small umbrella. "I'm Helena," she introduces herself. "I don't know much about cars either, but I work at a gas station nearby. I can take a look." Carlos Mendonça," he replies, extend his hand, and then quickly withdrawing it when he realizes it's covered in grease. "Sorry." Helena smiles gently and leans over the engine. Even with the limited knowledge she gained from observing the mechanics at the gas station, she quickly identifies the problem. It's the belt. It's completely broken. You won't be able to continue your journey like this. Carlos runs his hand through his wet hair, visibly worried. "I have a crucial meeting tomorrow morning in Ribera do Vale. I can't miss it." "The city is only 20 minutes away," Helena says. "I can give you a ride there. There are a few hotels downtown. You can call a tow truck early tomorrow morning and get your car fixed." Carlos seems to hesitate for a moment, evaluating his options, which are practically nil on that deserted road. "Are you sure? I don't want to bother you." "Sure. I just need to call my neighbor and let her know that I'll be a little late picking up my daughter." Carlos grabs a briefcase from the passenger seat and a small laptop, locks his car, and follows Helena to the Fiat Uno. He seems uncomfortable in the cramped space, but doesn't comment. Helena calls Dona Clotilde, who, as expected, complains about the time, but agrees to stay with Julia a little longer. During the journey, Carlos remains silent, looking out the window at the raindrops running down. Helena feels she must explain the situation. "Sorry for the rush. My daughter is waiting for me. I work 2 jobs, and sometimes schedules get complicated." Carlos looks at her with interest. 2 jobs? Must be exhausting. "That's what I need to do," Helena replies simply. "It's just me and my daughter. I understand. I admire your dedication." Helena smiles, but doesn't elaborate. In a few minutes, they reach the entrance to the city. "You can drop me off at that hotel over there," Carlos points out. "That's more than enough." Helena stops in front of the Grande Hotel Ribera, the only luxury establishment in the small town. A uniformed doorman rushes to open the door for Carlos, looking curiously at the worn-out Fiat Uno. "Thank you so much, Helena," Carlos says sincerely. "You saved my night. How can I repay you?" "You don't need anything. Anyone would do the same." Carlos smiles, as if silently disagreeing with the statement. Well, anyway, I really appreciate it. He looks like he wants to say something more, but changes his mind. Good night, and thanks again. Helena waves and leaves to pick up Julia. When she arrives, her daughter is already asleep on Dona Clotilde's couch, who doesn't hold back on complaining about the time. Helena apologizes repeatedly, carries her sleepy daughter to the car, and heads to the small one-bedroom apartment they rent on the outskirts of the city. Lying on her makeshift bed on the living room couch, with Julia sleeping in the only bedroom, Helena thinks about the man she helped. He seemed like a good person, despite his expensive suit and luxury car. For a moment, she imagines what it would be like to have a life without financial worries, but quickly pushes the thought away. Tomorrow is another day of hard work, and she needs a rest. The following days pass as usual, waking up at 5 in the morning, making coffee, getting Julia ready for school, working at the cafeteria from 7 to 3, picking up Julia, leaving her with Dona Clotilde, and heading off to work at the gas station until 10 at night, an exhausting routine that barely leaves time to breathe. On the 5th day after meeting Carlos, Helena is called to the office at Julia's school during her lunch break. With a heavy heart, she hurries, fearing that something has happened to her daughter. Mrs. Soares, Director Luciana greets her with a serious expression. We need to talk about Julia's monthly payment. We haven't received any for 3 months, and the school's policy. Helena felt her face burn with shame. She knew this moment would come. The private school where Julia studied was a sacrifice that she insisted on maintaining. It was the only inheritance her daughter had from the time when the family was complete and financially stable. Director, please, I just need 1 more month. I'm waiting to get paid for some extra work and... I'm sorry, Helena, Luciana interrupts, with genuine regret in her voice. I've already extended all possible deadlines. If we don't receive the full amount of the arrears by the end of the week, Julia won't be able to continue with us. Helena leaves school holding back tears. In the car, she lets her emotions finally escape. How would she explain to Julia that she would have to change schools, leave her friends, her teacher she loved so much? The nearest public school was on the other side of town and had a terrible reputation. It was as if, little by little, everything she had built was falling apart. That afternoon, when Helen arrives at the gas station, she is informed by the manager that a customer had left something for her. Intrigued, she receives a sealed brown envelope with her name handwritten on it. Inside, she finds a letter and, to her surprise, a check. Dear Helena, read the letter, written on the letterhead of a large investment firm. I would like to thank you again for your kindness on last week's rainy evening. After our meeting, I couldn't help but think about how rare small acts of kindness like yours are these days. A person who, even when facing their own challenges, stops to help a stranger deserves more than a simple thank you. I have researched you, I hope you don't mind, and discovered that you work tirelessly to raise your daughter. I deeply admire your strength. The enclosed check is a small way of repaying your kindness. Please accept it without hesitation. It is not charity, but rather an investment in someone who has demonstrated character and integrity. If you like, I'd like to talk about other ways I can help. I'll be at the Grand Hotel until the end of the week. Sincerely, Carlos Mendonça, Executive Director, Mendonça Investments. Helena looks at the check and almost faints. The amount is exactly what she owes Julia's school, plus a significant additional amount. Her first reaction is one of distrust. Why would a stranger do this? What would he expect in return? She considers not accepting it, but the desperate situation with Julia's school makes her put the check in her purse. She needs to think calmly. That night, after putting Julia to bed, Helena contemplates the check again. The amount would solve her immediate problems, but something is bothering her. She decides that she will go to the hotel the next day to speak to Carlos in person. At the Grande Hotel Ribera, she feels out of place in her gas station uniform. At the reception, she asks to announce her visit to Carlos Mendonça. Minutes later, he appears in the lobby, wearing an impeccable suit, smiling when he sees her. Helena, I'm glad you came. I received confirmation that you picked up my envelope. Yes, and that's what I came to talk about, she says, straight to the point, holding out the check. I can't accept this, Mr. Mendonça. It's a lot of money, and I just did what anyone would do. Carlos points to a discreet sofa in the corner of the hall, where they can talk in more privacy. First, please call me Carlos. And second, I completely disagree. Not everyone would stop on a dark side road to help a stranger. You not only stopped, but you found a solution to my problem, even though you were tired after a long day at work. Helena hesitates, still holding the check. Still, I can't accept. I don't know what you expect in return, but absolutely nothing, Carlos interrupts gently. Let me explain something about myself. I grew up in very difficult conditions. My mother was a maid and raised 3 children on her own after my father abandoned us. She worked in 3 different houses to provide us with the basics. I know exactly what it's like to struggle every day to survive. He pauses, looking around the luxurious lobby. I was lucky. I got a scholarship, majored in economics, and worked hard. Today, I have more money than I can spend. But I never forgot where I came from, or the people who helped me along the way. I always promised myself that when I could, I would give back. Helena watches him, beginning to understand. What you did for me that night may seem small to you, but it allowed me to get to my meeting the next day, where I closed an important deal. Helping your daughter continue her education is the least I can do. How do you know about her school? Carlos smiles a little awkwardly. As I said in the letter, I did some research. Nothing invasive, just basic questions at the office where you work. They told me that you have a daughter who studies at a good private school and that you work tirelessly to keep her there. Helena feels tears welling up. It's true that she was desperate because of the school fees, but she still feels uncomfortable. Look, I really appreciate it, but I don't know if it's right. Helena, Carlos says seriously, when my mother was in your situation, she refused help many times out of pride. In the end, it was us, the children, who suffered. If you don't want to accept it for yourself, accept it for Julia. These words hit Helena deeply. She remembers Julia's expression when she talked about her friends at school, about the art teacher who encouraged her so much. Thank you, she finally says, her voice breaking. I don't know how to repay you. No need, but I have a proposal, if you'll allow me. It's not charity, it's an opportunity. My company is expanding to Ribera do Vale, and we're setting up a local office. We need someone we can trust for the administration. Someone organized, responsible, and who knows the city well. The salary is 3 times what you currently earn in both jobs combined, with only business hours. Helena looks at him in disbelief. I don't have a degree in business. I only finished high school. But she has experience with customer service, basic financial management at the gas station cash register, and is clearly reliable and hardworking. The rest we can teach her. What do you say about a formal interview tomorrow? Helena feels like she's dreaming. It's too good to be true. But when she looks into Carlos' eyes, she sees only sincerity. She nods, unable to speak. The next day, after a surprisingly smooth interview with Carlos and his HR team, Helena is officially hired as an administrative assistant at the New Mendonça Investimentos branch. The office is still under renovation, but will be open for business in 2 weeks. That night, Helena tells Julia the news, who jumps for joy when she learns that her mother will no longer have to work late. For the first time in years, Helena sleeps a full night without worrying about bills or the immediate future. The following weeks are full of transformation. Helena leaves her 2 previous jobs, grateful for the opportunity she had. She starts working at the New Mendonça Investimentos office, a modern space in the city's commercial center. Carlos only shows up occasionally, since he manages the headquarters in Sao Paulo, but he always makes a point of checking in on how she is adapting. The new salary allows Helena to pay off her debts, keep Julia in school without worrying, and even start saving a little. She quickly learns her new duties, impressing her colleagues with her dedication. 3 months into her new job, Carlos invites her to a private meeting in his office. Helena enters, a little apprehensive. Helena, I have been following your progress, and I am extremely pleased. Your ability to learn and your dedication are admirable. Thank you, Carlos. I'm very happy here. Good, because I have another proposal for you. He slides a folder across the desk. I'd like you to consider college. The company has a scholarship program for promising employees, and you certainly qualify. Helena opens a folder and finds information about the administration course at the best college in the region, with all costs covered by the company, in addition to a flexible schedule, so she can study. But why? Because I see potential in you, and because I believe that investing in the right people is the best business I can do. 4 years from now, when you graduate, I want you to take over the management of this office. Helena feels the tears flowing freely now. In less than 6 months, her life has turned around. From an overworked and indebted single mother, she was transforming into a professional with a promising future. I don't know what to say, Carlos. You changed my life. Carlos smiles, shaking his head. No, Helena. You changed your own life when you decided to stop on that rainy road to help a stranger, even though you had 1,000 reasons to keep going. I just recognize who you really are and what you deserve. 2 years pass. Helena is in the middle of her business degree, earning excellent grades while managing part of the operations of the growing office. Julia, now 10, is flourishing at school, participating in math competitions and taking piano lessons, something Helena could never have afforded her before. On a Sunday afternoon, Helena and Julia are walking to the city park when they meet Carlos, who has come for a routine visit to the local office. Hello, you too. What a nice coincidence, he greets with a genuine smile. Julia, who already knows Carlos well from visits to the office and from a few occasions when he brought her educational gifts, runs to hug him. Uncle Carlos. Guess what? I came first in the school math Olympiad. That's fantastic, Julia. I knew you could do it. Helena watches the interaction with a full heart. Carlos has become more than a boss or a benefactor. He is a friend, almost a member of the family. We're going for ice cream to celebrate. Helena says, "Would you like to join us?" Carlos accepts, and the three spend a pleasant afternoon. During the conversation, he reveals that he is considering moving permanently to Ribera do Vale. Sao Paulo is becoming increasingly chaotic, and I realize that I can manage a large part of the business remotely. Plus, I have personal reasons for wanting to stay here longer. Her gaze meets Helena's, and for the first time, she notices something more than friendship or professionalism there. A heat rises in her face, and she looks away, suddenly shy. As the months pass, Carlos becomes an increasingly constant presence in Helena and Julia's lives. He shows up at Julia's school events, frequently has dinner with them, and even helps Helena with her college work. On a starry night, exactly 2.5 years after their encounter on the road, Carlos invites Helena to dinner at the restaurant of the Grande Hotel, where he still maintains a permanent suite, even though he has already bought a house in the city. "I have something important to talk to you about," he says mysteriously. "Can Julia stay with Dona Clotilde?" Helena agrees, curious and a little nervous. That evening, elegantly dressed in a simple but elegant blue dress, a gift from Carlos the previous Christmas, she meets Carlos at the restaurant. He leads her to a private table, overlooking the hotel's illuminated garden. "I hope you don't mind, but I asked for the liberty of requesting a special menu for tonight," says Carlos. "Any special occasion?" Helena asks, trying to keep her voice casual. "Actually, yes. Today marks exactly 2.5 years since you stopped to help me on that road." Helena smiles, surprised. "Do you remember the exact date?" "How could I forget? It was the day that changed my life. I think the one whose life changed was me, Carlos." He takes her hand across the table. "Helena, over the past few years, I've watched you transform from an overwhelmed, worried woman into a confident, accomplished professional. I've watched Julia blossom into an even brighter, happier child. But what you may not know is how much you've changed my life, too." Helena looks at him, confused. "Before I met you, I was completely immersed in business. I had money, success, recognition, but something was always missing. That night, when you stopped to help me without expecting anything in return, I realized what was genuine human connection, selfless kindness." He pauses, visibly moved. "Over the past few years, I've watched how dedicated you are to your daughter, how gracefully you face challenges, how true you are to your values. And without realizing it, I've fallen in love with you, Helena." Her heart raced, although she felt the growing closeness between them. Helena had always held back, afraid of mistaking gratitude for something more, or worse, risking the job and stability she had gained. "Carlos, You don't have to say anything right now," he interrupts gently. "I know our situation is complex. I'm your boss, and you may feel there's a power imbalance between us. So first of all, I want to clarify something." He takes an envelope from his jacket pocket and hands it to Helena. "What is that?" "Open up." Inside, Helena finds official documents transferring ownership of 30% of the shares in the Ribera do Vale branch to her name, as well as a letter guaranteeing her position as director, regardless of any personal relationship between them. "Carlos, I can't accept it." "You can and you should. You have earned this with your hard work and dedication. The branch has prospered beyond expectations thanks to your management. This is not a gift, Helena. It is recognition of your professional value. And it is also my way of balancing our relationship, so that you know that whatever your answer to what I'm going to ask next, your professional future is guaranteed." Helena feels the tears forming again. How can Carlos be so caring and understanding? "Helena soars," he continues, taking both of her hands in his. "In the last few months, I've realized that I don't just want to work with you or be your friend. I want to share my life with you and Julia, if you'll have me. I'm not asking for an immediate answer, just a chance to explore what we feel for each other, without concerns about hierarchy or gratitude." Helena feels a wave of emotion, so intense she can barely breathe. For the past few months, she has fought her growing feelings for Carlos, convincing herself that it was just admiration or gratitude. But now, looking into his eyes, she knows it is much more. "Carlos, you didn't just change our lives materially. You brought joy, security, and hope back to me and Julia. And yes, I also developed feelings for you, but I was afraid." "You don't need to be afraid anymore. Helena, I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." That night, under stars in the hotel garden, they share their first kiss, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. 6 months later, Helena, Carlos, and Julia officially form a family. The wedding is simple but elegant, held in the garden of a new house they bought together. Helena made a point of contributing her savings, even though it was a small fraction of the total value. Dona Clotilde, now an inseparable friend, is the maid of honor, along with Carlos' oldest business partner. At the party, as she watches Julia dancing happily with her adored stepfather, Helena reflects on the extraordinary journey that began on a dark, rainy road. She approaches Carlos, who is chatting with some guests. "A penny for your thoughts," he whispers, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I was just thinking about how life turns around. 3 years ago, I was barely making rent and was about to pull Julia out of school. Today you are a successful businesswoman, a future business graduate, a co-owner of a thriving company, and most importantly, still the same big-hearted person who stopped to help a stranger in the rain." Helena smiles, resting her head on her husband's shoulder. "Do you know what Julia told me last night?" asks Carlos. "What?" "When he grows up, he wants to be like his mother. Not like me, the successful businessman, but like you, the person who stops to help others even when he's in a hurry." Helena feels her eyes well up once more. Of all the blessings she has received in the past few years, knowing that her daughter values compassion over material success is undoubtedly the greatest. I think the lesson we learned is that we never know how a small act of kindness can completely change the course of our lives, Carlos reflects. Or perhaps, Helena adds, the lesson is that in the end, what really matters is not how much money we have in the bank, but the kind of person we choose to be every day, in every encounter, at every crossroads. Carlos kisses her softly. "That's why I fell in love with you. You always see beyond the obvious." As the party continues around her, Helena gazes up at the starry sky, silently grateful that she followed her heart on that rainy night 3 years ago. The road has been long and difficult, but worth every step. From broke single mother to respected businesswoman and happy wife, her journey is proof that sometimes destiny awaits us at the most unexpected bend in the road. Yendi,